everybody. Welcome to another episode of Theater Tuesdays. And this is the show where I like to talk to my theater friends and theater community about all things live theater. It's so much fun. And I'm theater critic Rachel Wagner. And today I have with me Howard Kathryn Little. And thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's such a delight to talk with you and meet you. And just thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having us. It's really fun.
Yeah. So what we like to do with new guests on the podcast is give you a chance to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about how you got inspired to get into the world of musical theater and directing and producing.
Do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. I have a BFA in theater from Utah State University with a directing emphasis. And Catherine?
I have a B. I have a bachelor's. I don't think it's a BF. It's just a bachelor's from BYU.
Okay.
In theater.
So did you grow up in families that went to the theater a lot? Did you get introduced to theater as young children?
Well,
I got into theater in high school because it counted as an English credit.
Okay.
And just fell in love with it and it's continued.
Yeah.
And I grew up in a really musical family. My dad was the conductor for the Philharmonic at BYU for years and years and years. So we had music. And I saw my oldest sister, Jelaine, was the first musical director at Sundance.
Okay.
And so I grew up watching all of the Sundance shows and just wanting to be on stage. And so I always wanted to be an actress.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't planning on being a director. I just wanted to be an actress. And so that kind of evolved later when I started outlasting parts. As I became, I did a lot of leading lady stuff. And then as I got older, I thought, if I want to stay in this, I need to start directing. So
she did a lot of ingenue stuff too when she was started at 16.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did you have a particular first role that really got you hooked?
Well, I used to know. I mean, when I was a kid, we had a record of Man of La Mancha. I'm talking when I was 4 years old. Yeah. And I would be down in our basement with our old record player and would just be loving that Don Quixote, and so it was always in my blood.
That's great. For me, it was my grandma got me a best of Andrew Lloyd Webber cassette tape.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and I listened to it nonstop. And I went and saw a Phantom of the Opera in San Francisco, and that was the first real Broadway show I ever saw.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And then I got really hooked on Les Mis when I was in high school. The 10th anniversary concert had come out around that time, and I just absolutely loved it. And it was the walk and talk of my life when I was.
So have you been on stage, or do you pretty much?
Well, when I was in high school, I did some shows. I was always just a chorus person. I am the world's worst dancer. So that hurts. That hurts my chances big time. Because I'm a little dyslexic, and so it's just really hard for me to learn pattern dances and stuff like that is very difficult for me. But yeah, in high school we did this was in Maryland, and we did The Wiz.
Oh, fun.
It was a very white version of The Wiz. You probably wouldn't do it these days. You probably wouldn't do it. But we had a lot of fun. And then we did Bye Bye Birdie.
Okay.
Yeah, which I think is the perfect show for high school because it has lots of solos and it has lots of group scenes.
Yeah, we energy.
We directed that for the Sierra.
Okay. Yeah. Well, and I think personally, for high school, at least, that anybody who wants to participate should be allowed to participate. That's why it's good to do shows like Bye Bye Birdie, where you can just throw another person in the chorus.
We did it in high school under Neil Barth was my director in high school. And yeah, that was a blast.
Because how do you know if you like something or you're good at it if you never get a chance to try it out?
That's true.
My sister did Into the Woods, and I have my issues with Into the Woods, but my sister did Into the Woods, and I don't think it's a good show for high school to do because it doesn't have hardly any ensemble scenes. Very few.
Right.
True.
Right, it doesn't.
No, I'm always with Acting Up because it's a high school group. And we are always looking for shows that will have a ton of parts so that we can spread it out. This year we're doing Shrek.
Oh, I
and
love
last
Shrek.
year we did Seussical. And those are great high school shows because you involve so many people in the cast.
But we did do direct Into the Woods for the Sierra. We did do that a few years back.
But it wasn't a high school production.
They're doing it again, Sierra, this year. Doing it. Everybody's doing Into the Woods this year. I'm just like, oh. I don't love Into the Woods. I don't know. I just feel like it's subversive for subversive sake. It doesn't. Sure, it has some decent songs, but I don't know. I just don't love it.
Well,
I would do Company any day over Into the Woods if you're picking Sondheim, in my opinion.
Okay, he can just be pretty cynical, So.
Do you love Into the Woods?
I do love Into the Woods, but I used to do a lot of concerts, and I had to be really selective about the pieces that I was doing, especially Sondheim, because out of context, they can be so cynical, and so, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's I think it's seen as like the safe Sondheim for some reason here in Utah, but it's really pretty edgy. So I don't know why it's gotten that.
Yeah.
But how did you two meet?
We met in New York.
We met in New York.
Oh, okay.
I had a friend who graduated a year before I did from Utah State, and he was out there, and he called me and he said, I was about ready to become a high school drama teacher and a basketball coach. You don't really mix, but that's my degrees. Anyway, he said, come to New York. So I went to New York and I stayed until I met her. And then I left, and then I came back. But no, we met in New York because of a show. She didn't want to be in. I was helping produce it, and they rushed her up to say, oh, she was great. She toured with the show. And it had already been cast. We weren't telling anybody. And
so he was very standoffish.
I was standoffish. She didn't want to be in it, so she was standoffish. And then so she came to the show. She came to see it, and I asked her to come to closing night party because I was enamored with her. And she came to the party, and 6 weeks later, we're married.
No way. That's amazing.
30. How many years later?
37 now.
We're going on 37.
Wow. 48. I'm not in.
I have to do the math again.
What did your families think? 6 weeks?
Well, I had been married and divorced, and Howard had been engaged for a really long time. So I think they were just relieved.
Yeah. My parents just loved her, so they're like, yes. Boy off the streets.
My parents were pretty happy, so there you go.
Yeah, I mean, it's worked. So what do you that's great.
Yeah.
I love that.
It takes work, let me tell you, especially when you're directing together. It takes a lot of work.
What show were you working on?
It's actually the church hired me because it'd never been done on the East Coast. It was My Turn on Earth. Carolyn Pearson, Lex Vader show.
Okay.
And so like she had toured with it here in Utah and Western United States. And that's why she didn't want to be in it. And like I said, it's already cast.
So. It was already cast.
Yeah, but we weren't telling the cast that because we didn't want them crying at church. They wanted to be an all LDS cast. So
it was inspired casting, clearly.
Yeah.
That's great.
Are you a fan of Rachel's Reviews? Do you look forward to Family Movie Night, Female Film Critics Panels, or the Talking Disney podcast? If so, please consider supporting the podcast by becoming a patron. As a patron, you get to access monthly events such as the watch-alongs and Q&As, where you get to talk to stars and find out the behind the scenes of the movie making industry. And you can pick what I review for Family Movie Night or even become a guest on the podcast Podcasts and YouTube channels are expensive, and I really, really could use your help. I would so appreciate it. You also get to be a member of the Facebook group where we talk about all the films that we're seeing, and we have so much fun. Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies and select one of the Rachel's fan tiers. That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
So how did you end up getting involved in Pleasant Grove Players, working with them?
It was your friend, Carlene Dodge Young.
Uh-huh.
She was actually head of the Arts Council at that time, and she was asked if I'd just come and direct a show. And so
we had done some stuff with our stake in Pleasant Grove.
Right.
We'd done the Mikado, and we had done exams. So we didn't do small things with our stake. And so Carlene knew that
we could do stuff. So she asked if we'd come and take over directing because she was leaving. And that's when we started, and we just kind of hung in there, I guess.
That's great.
They asked him, and then I bullied my way in. Poor Howard.
Well, she was known as a musical director, and they were doing plays. We did mostly plays. And came along, and we started bringing in little musicals because it's a small stage. You can
it is.
You have to be very, very selective on the shows you do there. So when she came on, she musically directs, we do a musical, and then we co-direct. So she's got 2 titles, which is great. And then we do plays, we're just co-directors.
Yeah.
I work on the I guess the blocking, setting up in the tech and dealing with them and all that. And then Kathryn comes in and works with the acting.
He's very good at he's good at all of it, but he does the big pictures, and then I come in and do the little pictures.
Yeah, basically. And it's worked out. It took us a while to figure it out, but we get along now. So
that's great.
We're still married. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when the pandemic happened, I was really traumatized by the closing of the theaters, and I'd always been a patron of the arts, and but it had never really occurred to me that could be taken away, and so when it was, especially for so long, it was very upsetting, and I said to myself, I'm going to do whatever it takes to support live theater in particular, but live performance when it opens again. And so after I got vaccinated, I waited the 2 weeks, which was what they said at the time. And it's such kismet because I have such a love for Les Miserables that the first show that I saw in this new goal or whatever that I had was Les Mis at Hale. And I just thought that was incredible that would be the one I come back to. But I just started digging a lot deeper than the obvious ones of, your Hales and your Sierras and things like that, and that I'd already, been supporting. And I discovered this Pleasant Grove Players, and it's definitely one of the finds. I think I would say it's the hidden gem of Utah theater. It's if I'm going to push a company on people, I say it's one of the ones that I push on people because I've really enjoyed everything that I've seen there, and it's just such a charming, wonderful experience. You just would never guess in a million years to have the quality of the productions in this tiny little theater in Pleasant Grove Library, and I just love what you all are doing there.
Thanks, Rachel.
Appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah. We don't mean to be a hidden gem. We want to be a big gem.
Yeah, we're working to make it not hidden.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, the first show that I saw there was She Loves Me, and I love that show. But it was so fun because you had a married couple in the lead there, and that was fun how that all worked out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and those were the DeBurks, and they are wonderful. We adore them. We had it 2 weeks from opening when we got closed down for COVID.
Oh, okay.
So we got almost all of the same cast back.
Oh, wow.
We lost maybe 2 people, and replaced 2 people, but no, that was a sweet show.
Yeah, we had to wait for the DeBurks because they were doing a show up at the Hales with Sandy.
Okay.
We had to wait for them to come, but they really wanted to do our show. So we're like, oh, sweet. So come on down. We've been lucky in the talent we get, not lucky, blessed, because, and we found that actors kind of like to come every once in a while and work in our little small theater. We get the same people that the Hells get, and so we're pretty blessed.
Yeah, that's amazing. So yeah, is it challenging to figure out how to kind of use that space? It's so small.
Oh yeah,
Especially in a show like She Loves Me, where the set is pretty important.
Yeah, and then we did Lucky Stiff, and it was like, okay, can we get a wheelchair small enough, to scoot Dennis around in when it's such a small stage? But we've been able. We've got Tina.
She's come on.
Tina Fontana's come on, and she's wonderful at figuring out how to make things work in that space too. She and Howard get together, and
we get together and battle it out. So I go,
yeah.
And she goes, oh, I want this big. And I go, okay.
But,
well,
you get it to work.
Yeah. Well, I saw See How They Run and absolutely loved that. This was my first time seeing it. And I think that I've seen See How They Run now at Hale, the Hale Theater. And I think I prefer your version. Your version was funnier. So
well,
thank you again.
Yes.
Yeah. So Matthew Del Puente is who you're talking about, and he's also we're doing Arsenic and Old Lace right now, and he's
in that. So
yeah, I'm really excited to see that. Yeah. And then the best Christmas pageant ever, which is fun. It's nice when people do something different. And you did Nutcrackers as well. It's nice people do something different than, I feel like there's the three main Christmas musical and Christmas shows, Christmas Story, Christmas Carol, and Elf. So it's nice to go to see something different for a holiday.
Yeah, we're doing it this year, but next year we think we're doing the
Don't commit us. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. We're going to do something else different next year, and it's going to be fun. Big cast, though. We're going to squeeze out the theater. We're hoping to get this. So
yeah, that's cool. Yeah, what's it like when you audition people and trying to get like the perfect cast? What's that process like? And what would you tell people? Do this, don't in an audition. What would be your big audition advice?
Come and bring your best self and not try to be somebody else.
You
know, I mean, that's pretty obvious, but at the same time, just to come and part of it is that we're looking for people that we want to work with too. You know, it needs to be an experience for us as well as for the actors. And so we look for people that we think would be enjoyable to work with, and they need to be talented. You know, they need to have the skill set.
And we really hate casting because we have to turn people away.
That is sure.
People with talent, people we know that's been in other shows but didn't quite fit in this one for what we have in mind. That's the hardest thing is saying no. And
so maybe part of their audition experience needs to be, am I right for the show? Rather than, oh, I wasn't good enough. And that's the hardest as an actor. That's the hardest thing, to take that rejection and go, okay, well, it wasn't because I don't have a skill set. They're looking for something else. They want strawberry and I'm vanilla, or the pistachio. I don't know. You know.
Yeah. Do you have when you feel like, oh, I really took a risk on a particular casting, and what that experience is like picking somebody that maybe is a little bit against type, or someone that surprised you?
Okay. There's a woman, Lamone Ingram. I don't know if you know her. She is not, but she's done shows with us in the past, and in fact, the very first thing I saw at PG, they asked me to come and watch a show and see. I felt like she was the standout in that show.
She was wonderful.
And we were doing Spitfire, no, not Spitfire Grill. She did that too for us, but the one that you were in with the hairdresser one.
Still Magnolias.
Still Magnolias.
Oh, okay.
She came and auditioned, and I didn't really see her in the part. I kind of went, and she goes, well, please call me back, because I knew her. And so I said, yeah, okay, come back to the callback, because we had a lot of women that auditioned for that. And she changed my mind. She came in and just blew the callback away. She came in prepared. She didn't try to be anybody but what she could bring to it, and she did.
And she's
brought her-
delightful to work with. She's
She's really great to work with. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Well, you all did the Fantastics, and I have to admit, this is not my favorite show. I don't know, I just don't love the story that much. But was that a challenge? It's kind of a different show. It's sort of weird. Was that a challenge to do that show?
We'd both done it in our past, acted in it.
Yeah.
And, and we went away from the standard with the black and all that. We decided our concept was that this is a traveling theater show, and it's during like the Grapes of Wrath period. They're traveling across America with these migrant workers, putting on a show for the migrant workers, and that's why we didn't do all the curtains and all that stuff that they normally do. We brought it. We painted the set to look like it was out in the wilderness somewhere.
Yeah.
And then we brought in. You saw the back of that pickup truck that we put in on the set. We had that specifically for the box that they got characters. So we kept the fact that they come out of a box on the stage. We kept that part of it, and we just thought we changed it enough that it was different enough that we actually enjoyed it.
I love the Fantastic. I did the Fantastics in college. And loved it. So when people say it's a weird show, I guess because I was young when I was introduced to it, so it wasn't weird to me. It's just a really sweet story. And I love the music.
Yeah. Well, Try to Remember is an all-timer. It's great, especially. So
hey, this is Jen Johans, host of the podcast Watch with Jen, which delivers a steady stream of great movie recommendations, thoughtful career deep dives, and first-rate conversations with film critics, authors, actors, journalists, filmmakers, and more. You can find Watch with Jen wherever you get your podcasts, or hear us first at our Patreon at patreon.com/filmintuition.
Then most recently you did the complete works of William Shakespeare abridged. And what was neat about this production is that you had all three leads played by family members.
Right.
So how did you decide to do that? Have three generations playing these roles?
Honestly,
Dennis Purdy has been a standard with PG players since before we were there. And he suggested it. He thought it would be kind of cool to be able to do it with his kids and his kid and his grandkid.
Yeah.
And they're both, we knew
and we've used them
before, and they're both phenomenal talents.
And so we just thought, well, okay, we've got Purdy, and they're all wonderful. So
we had to change but she was definitely a female in it, and the script calls for three men.
Yeah.
And so we had to change up some things. There were some things that I wanted to keep, but it's too weird for us. So can we change it?
So you did change it a little bit for there were some family jokes within there that you worked into it, which was fun.
Yeah, it's kind of a collaboration a little bit because of the talent involved.
They came up with some idea. I mean, it really was a collaboration. It was fun.
Yeah, it was hilarious. I thought that it was more improv than it was. And I was a little bit, because I generally don't love improv. And so I was like, I don't know if I'm going to like this one, but I'm, going to go because I have season tickets. And then I went and saw it, and it was so funny. And I was like, oh, they did the improv really well. And then I was talking with the dad.
Jason.
Yeah. And he was saying, oh no, it's all scripted pretty much.
It is pretty much
interesting. Yeah.
I mean, Robbie, when you're figuring it out, but then you said it. So so you don't have wild cannons on stage going.
Yeah. Do you have a dream show that you've never gotten to direct that you would love to direct?
I would love to do Light in the Piazza sometime. I think I don't know. It's funny with PG players anyway. Our audiences seem to like the comedies and the killer thrillers.
Oh, okay.
And so trying to introduce other things to them is a little bit of a stretch, but
it could be done on our stage. It's a small cast, and it's set in Italy. You just have to have some naked statues around here and there.
Right. I would love that. I was surprised when Hale did it last year because I mean, I don't know, it's just a little bit more mature than they typically do. And so like I have it, I don't think I'd ever seen at Hale a bedroom scene until then. So that was interesting. I mean, I was fine with it, but I was just surprised because I actually saw it in 2006 on Broadway, like in Piazza. So I love that show. It's really hard, but
it's wonderful. I don't know. We saw it at Lincoln Center. Did you see it at Lincoln?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, they extended it a week. And I was really
nice.
familiar with it. I was like, we're going. We're in New York. And it was like, yeah. So it was beautiful. It was a beautiful production.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Amazing. And Faith Prince, unbelievable in that lead. And so that would be a great one. I would love to see you all do that one of these days. What would you say is the hardest part of directing? There's so many different parts with the casting, the blocking, the all the different things that you do. What would you say is the most challenging part?
The most emotionally draining is casting.
Mm-hmm.
But after that,
it's us getting along. It's because it's very subjective, and I have an idea, and when it comes up to like interpretation of lines, and well, I don't quite see the line being delivered quite that way where she does, and so we've had but the hardest thing, I guess, is for me, well, because of that space, for me, it's trying to make the space work. That's the hardest thing that I have to deal with. But when we're directing at the Sierra or up for Lehigh, well, still Lehigh, because we cast 40 some people in it on that stage, and the big because we were like, okay, the day that we're doing, we had to push another rehearsal day just for spacing up there. We had 2 full days of just spacing with all the stuff coming in and out. And so dealing with that, I was dealing with that. And so that's harder.
The most delightful thing is working with the actors and getting ideas from them and just playing.
The fun part that she gets to do.
I get to do that part mostly.
We just love doing it. Theater's been in both our bloods for forever. So, and I didn't start out to be a director. I started out to be an actor, but I found out later that I like directing a show. And then when the show's up, I go, man, I wish I was playing that part. Or I'll see a show and I go, oh, I'd like to play that part. But not that the person that's doing it is not doing it well. They're doing a great job. That's why I'd like to do it.
Yeah. Well, they inspire you.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay. So you did Newsies at Lehigh, which was really fun. I thoroughly enjoyed that production. And what's that like going from your small stage to such a large stage? That must be an interesting contrast.
Well, we've both done a lot of big stage stuff, so it's just a different venue. But what was fun for us with Newsies, we had never worked with Lehigh before. And like Elisons are really good friends, and we love them. So when
she's worked with all her kids,
they've all of their kids have been in acting up
and voice students from her.
So, and Kathy Elison is my stage manager when I do my shows at the Sierra.
She's our stage manager for this one we're doing.
So hopping on board over at Lehigh was just a joy. It was really fun.
That's great. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I have huge nostalgia for that show because I loved the movie as I was like the perfect age for it. And so yeah, I mean it's performed a lot, but I still really enjoy it. So
hard part about that show is the dancing.
Yeah.
Well, you have to have good dancers and a good choreographer. And
Fabulous.
We were very blessed the fact that we got dancers who could sing. And every one of them could sing, and it was a grueling audition. We had over how many auditions?
150 people.
Over 150 people auditioned, and then we we had 90 at the callback. And so I have to tell all those people, even though they're very talented, a lot of it had to do with scheduling too. We thought, oh, we want this guy. But we looked at their schedule and their conflicts and go, okay, we'd rather not work with those conflicts. So,
yeah. So some people have complained that Broadway has become an amusement park attraction, that, you have all of the movies being turned into musicals, and you have all the corporate, the Disney musicals, things like that. How do you feel about that? What do you think?
I don't know. There's
what I dislike is seeing Broadway shows turn into movies. Turn into movies. Some of them are like, oh, okay, what did you do that for?
It is. It is interesting. I think part of the problem with that is that they are forced to wait so long, so that by the time the movie comes out, usually it's all the hype is gone. I don't know. Certainly with Les Mis, now they're Wicked. That movie should have come out a decade ago at least, and now we're getting 2 movies. I don't know. It's very difficult. There's very few of them that I'm kinder on them the most as a critic, but I do think the translation from stage to screen is harder than the translation from screen to stage.
Back to your question about, I don't know, when we lived in New York, there was no Disney in New York.
Right.
And it was gritty and a little dirty and a little, and then Disney came in and really cleaned up that whole area.
Oh, you're talking about the
New Amsterdam.
Just in general. And I kind of miss the grit, to tell you the truth. I think the Disney musicals, and Disney does a great job, and they have a budget that they can just go to town on, and I think they do a really great job, but I miss the grit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I don't know if you watched the most recent season of Schmigadoon, but it's a fun show, and it actually has Utah roots. The creators are both from Utah, but anyway, this season was all about those gritty shows that you were talking about, from the late 70s, early 80s, things like Pippin and Chicago and Cabaret and things like that.
Right.
It was pretty fun. Sweeney Todd.
We went to see Pippin oh gosh, when did we go? It's been 15 years. But no, it couldn't have been 15 years, because I sat there watching Pippin and thinking, because I had really wanted to bring my acting up kids.
She's done Pippin.
We did it at BYU, but we got married. We didn't have sex. It was weird. And
that's funny.
I had thought about, man, I really want to bring acting up to New York so they can see. And I sat there watching Pippin thinking, I'm so glad they're not in the audience right now.
Definitely.
I don't know.
That's funny that they had them get married at the BYU version.
Yeah. Well, it's BYU, we have to
right.
When going at Utah State, we used to I'd say, well, if you're going to do that show, do the show. If you can't do the show, don't do it.
Yeah. It was interesting. This last year, BYU did Godspell, which was surprising to me. And I've never seen it anywhere else, so I don't know what they changed or moved around or what they did. But I thought it was a very interesting production.
Both of us have done Godspell. I've done it 4 times. How many times?
Oh, really? Wow.
I said Jesus in it 3 times and once in New York.
So,
oh, cool.
No, I love Godspell. We didn't see it. We should have gotten to BYU.
Yeah.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, Hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anne of Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite show that you've done?
That we've directed or that we've
Well, Godspell will always be my favorite. And then, like I say, playing Jesus for 3 times and with 3 different casts.
Because you can see how he glows and stuff.
Yeah, see that. It's just a fun show to do.
Yeah.
The interaction, you do so much interaction with the cast.
Yeah.
Everybody, and that's the best part about theater, is the connection. And the best part about being an actor is developing a character that actually works. And that's the best thing about being an actor, and that's so
I mean, even just as a patron, like that's one thing that some people didn't understand why I was so sad about the theaters closing, because it's not just about entertainment, it's about the whole community of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That you lose when it's not. I mean, I think it was kind of in a way a mistake that we divided people by essential versus non-essential workers. I understand the necessity of it, but for me, like, absolutely, live theater and the arts are essential to my like mental health and so much more. Yeah.
Well,
So
kind of interesting. The very first rehearsal that you have, in our theater here in the little community, it's a hug fest. It's a hug fest. It's good to because they get to see each other. That they did a show 5 years ago someplace with, and so almost it's a small. If they're good actors, they get in a lot of shows.
Yeah, no, it's true. I've seen some of the same people in different roles now that I try to see as much as I can. It is kind of fun. You see the recurring players. But what about you, Kathryn? Do you have a favorite show that you've directed?
To direct, it's funny because Sid Riggs, I did a lot of work with Sid. I don't think you might not know who she was, but she did a lot of directing here, and she died years ago. But one of the things that she used to say, my favorite show is whatever I'm working on.
Yeah.
And I think that's true, because while you are working on the show, you are so invested in making sure that it's saying what you want it to say. And so it kind of is whatever I'm working on the most. I mean, presently.
On that, can I add a little bit to that?
Yeah, please.
Tina, our set designer, she's our designer. She likes to get on it really early, and I'm working or not as soon as I close the show. And I say, no, I need a break.
Yeah.
Shows mentally, basically, because once you start, it becomes all consuming.
Sure.
You dream about it. Go, how am I going to fix this? What's going to happen here? Who's this casting isn't quite working. How do I get that to change? How do I get this? It's all consuming. It's she's lucky because she's got 5-6 jobs that she does. I have like 2 jobs. She gets divided up mentally, but yeah, me, it's all consuming. And when I'm mowing the lawn, when I, going to bed at night, and I have to get out of that or I can't sleep. So yeah, it becomes, that's the hardest thing, I guess. And the best thing, it becomes all consuming.
Yeah. Did you ever have a show that you like started thinking, I don't really love the show, and then by the end it won you over?
Yeah, pretty much. Well,
pretty much every show.
No, but okay, here's the deal. Because I grew up wanting to be a serious actress,
Yeah.
And what I found, at least for me at the Sierra, with my acting up group, is we start doing these Disney shows, and I think, okay, we're going to do Disney fluff, and there's not going to be any depth, and there's not going to be, and then by golly, you know what? You find it. And like, I remember we did Freaky Friday, and I thought, Freaky Friday is a stupid show. And I got into it and realized, no, it's got some really, really wonderful things to say. And then Seussical was the same Seussical. And then I got into Seussical and went, oh my gosh, there's so much to say with these shows. So I kind of get converted every time.
Seussical, Freaky Friday, I really like. Seussical, they did a great job with Seussical. First, I don't like Seussical. I never until I saw her production. I've seen it 3 or 4 times and I go, I guess it had a lot to do with the fact that I know all the kids that are in it.
It was a really dang good show.
It was a really dang good show. It was cast really well. We casting, making sure you cast the show well, and I guess that's kind of a talent. You have to have that sort of that eye and that talent to make sure. If you don't cast it well, like there's been people that I've cast in shows that have auditioned really well, and then just never really quite got around to doing the part, doing the character. And you're going, that's the hardest thing, I think, more than anything, when you see an actor that didn't quite fit what we wanted.
But you can kind of tweak them to get where you need them.
Well, she can.
It works.
I just
yeah. Well, very good. Yeah, Freaky Friday. I think that it's such a weird show. I admire it because it is so weird. But I can't decide if I like it or not. I mean, the parents lie. I struggle. I mean, it's such a weird song. I mean that, and it's like, would the teenager really sing that to her little brother? Would she be that mean? And on one hand, I appreciate how subversive it is, because you never would have a parent saying that parents lie. But on the other hand, I'm like, it goes a little too far, I think, when he says that parents lie with hugs. No, they don't. They don't lie with hugs. Come on.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's a very weird show. I always leave thinking
state right then. She's upset. You have to give her a little bit of slack.
Well, and then the other song that I just struggle with is Biology. I'm like,
oh, that's my favorite one of the whole show.
So weird. I mean, she's an adult singing about this.
Yeah, I really liked it. She cast in the choreographer had them get up on did you see it at the Sarah when she did it?
I didn't, no.
She had the kids get up. Choreographer had it, but they had these, the science tables. They look great. They got up on them and they just rotated them around. Brody did the great job.
Brody is a great choreographer.
I think it's because the choreographer made it.
Yeah,
that was my favorite number in that show.
You should have seen it, Rachel.
I know, I should have.
Well, then there's that big one with the cops and the young girl, and they're just belting it out, it.
It's really fun because you can do things with kids that you can't do with adults. Like Newsies, there was choreography in there because they were kids.
Yeah, we
could just fling them all over the stage.
Yeah,
and that's something we can't quite do at PG Players.
Right.
Not with the 60 and 75-year-old actors.
We can try them.
All right. Well, we like to end with some fun, get to know you questions. So our first question is, what is the best ice cream flavor?
I'm kind of into selective. What's it called? Selective English toffee. It's English toffee, and it's whatever it is at Smith's. Okay. It's really, really good, but it's English toffee. It's really good.
At first, she wouldn't let me have any. No, now she's back down. She says, "What do you want, Howard? I'm not a big ice cream guy, so I like it. Rocky Road's really good for me.
I like it. Good. All right. What's your favorite color?
I don't have one.
Gray.
Okay. Gray. All right.
Oh yeah, gray. It's great. Well, mine.
If you had to pick an original cast recording, Broadway, to listen to, what would you pick? Your favorite?
It depends on. I go through phases. Right now, have you listened to Bandstand?
Not a ton, a little bit.
Oh,
good one.
That's kind of the one I'm on right now. It's just such great music. Nice. There are so many good shows, and so when I'm cleaning or being around the house, or I like to can. I'm a canner. And so when I'm canning, I'm listening to a Broadway show. And
nice.
and I'll get on. Yeah, I'll just get
Uh-huh.
on and stay on it for a minute.
Nice.
Yeah, that's the same way. I'm like a lot of them. Right now, I guess I'm listening mostly to Dear Evan Hansen. I don't know why.
That's a great cast
Yeah.
recording.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I like him, his performances.
Oh, yeah, me too. So do you have a go-to date night food?
When we get to go on a date,
So we are the ultimate. Should wear that shirt. We can't.
we
Whatever
have
else.
a rehearsal.
When you're dealing with her doing 2 shows at the same time.
But what's our favorite food for dates? Where do we
Taco
go?
Bell? No, just kidding.
Yeah.
She really likes. I guess my favorite is Indian food.
Yeah, we love it.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
or sushi.
Uh-huh.
If we can get
I can't eat seaweed, but if I can get the rice paper, I like it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Which you like better, dogs or cats?
Yeah,
Well, we have 2 dogs.
we've always had a dog, and we used to have a cat. And
But-
I grew up with both, so.
We have 2 dogs, and we've had 2 dogs before them.
And
We've
then
only
dog
had one.
before.
We've had 2 cats. But yeah, no, I think we're kind of
We had
Hooked on.
a cat in New York. Yes,
Yeah.
that's true.
so dogs are our latest.
Have you ever had to have a dog in a show, like an Annie or something like that?
Oh, I would never trust one of our dogs.
Not our dogs. No, we've never had it. Have we ever had an animal on stage? I can't remember if we have. I know the shows. I haven't ever done it with the show.
I musically directed Annie at the Sierra a long time ago, and they had a dog on stage.
Dog on there. Yeah. All right. Which do you like better, beaches or mountains?
Mountains.
Mountains.
I truly believe that the ocean is there. Its only purpose in life is to kill me.
And I will.
She loves swimming. I mean, every time I've gone to that ocean, it's like it's trying to kill me. You know, like I barely escaped. So I just spent 4 days in the mountains up in Colorado on my motorcycle, and it was
Oh,
amazing.
fun.
That's what I got all the sunburnt thing, passes and everything else. So.
Well, I'm dying to see on Broadway, just opened, is this new play about the making of Jaws.
Oh yeah, I've
Oh,
heard about that.
I
Yeah.
haven't heard about that. Okay.
It looks so good.
It's a musical?
No
Does
play.
that-
No, it's a straight play, but it looks it's got the oh shoot, now I can think of his name, but It's Broken is what it's called, and I would love to see it. Oh,
Is it a comedy or is it a?
I don't know what they have it classified as,
Hmm.
but yeah, it's Robert Shaw, playing Robert Shaw, Roy Scheider, and Richard Dreyfuss,
Uh-huh.
and it's got Alex Brightman, who was in Beetlejuice, and
Oh yeah, that's a good cast so far.
yeah, and Colin Donnell as Scheider, and I've just seen here. Anyway, it looks really, really good. It looks really good. I really want to see it.
Sure.
I'd love to make a New York trip this year. I don't know if I'll be able to, but
Yeah.
so much good stuff.
That was one of my favorite vacations. We went to New York and saw 5 shows in 3 days.
Oh,
And
nice.
it was great.
Oh, it's the best. What's your favorite holiday to celebrate?
Probably Christmas for us.
Yeah. Well, do you have a favorite musical movie?
Hmm.
What was I just watching? It was-
No, I like a lot of things. I'm really bad with favorites
Yeah.
because I see things that I like out of everything, you know.
Hmm. Yeah. My favorite is probably Singing in the Rain.
Okay.
I really love that.
The old ones, yeah.
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 It's one, and I do think The Sound of Music is better than the show. I think it's one of the rare cases that the movie is better.
Play.
Yeah, they upgraded it. But But very good. You did it. You answered all the questions.
Oh, thanks. Well, it's nice to meet you, Rachel.
Yeah, it's so nice to meet you both.
When you come to the theater, you've got to come say hi.
As soon as you
yes.
like, you clicked on her, oh, I've seen her before.
Yeah, well, definitely next time for sure. What do you have coming up?
Arsenic and Old Lace.
Oh, that's right. Arsenic and Old Lace. Great. Well, we'll look forward to that. I love that show. It's very funny. So that'll be good. I'd like to thank Howard and Kathryn for coming on the podcast. This was so much fun to get to talk with them and hear from their wealth of experience and knowledge. I hope you all enjoyed it. Let me know what you think of all the things we talked about in the comments or on Twitter. And you can follow me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes, and at rachelsreviewstheater.com. Check that out. Check out my playlist with all of my Theater Tuesday content. I would really appreciate that. And please, if you are listening on iTunes, leave your ratings and reviews. That helps a lot. And if you are watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Appreciate that so much. We also have the Patreon group and merch store, so check that out. And thanks again, and we'll talk to y'all later. Bye.